welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I've got Vishnu Korde with me from StackOS. Now I always say it as StackOS because I'm from Oz, but it is StackOS because it's an operating system. And he's going to explain to us a little bit about what this does. So this is a token and it's just released into the market. It was an IDO. And it is epic. So I'm really super excited to have him here and to show you all what this amazing project does. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here and talk via you to the entire community of yours, which has been incredibly exciting for sure. I know that you happen to talk about us on Twitter, and we had a huge amount of people coming to our group and talking about like what you talked about, and then just discussing about the project. So really excited to be here. I thought it would be great to connect with you and see and really speak to people directly. So thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. So let's get started straight into it so we can sort of explain to everyone how this works. So StackOS is an open protocol that allows individuals to collectively offer decentralized cloud where you can deploy full stack application, decentralized app, blockchain, privates, and mainnet nodes. So in plain English, what is that?
All right. So look at it this way, right? So we have the centralized cloud providers like Amazon and GCP and others. So, and if you look at the blockchain community as well, right? All of them really deploy smart contracts on, blockchain protocols like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain and others, and Neo, right? So the intention is that, while these guys do it in a decentralized way, using these decentralized protocols for smart contracts, the applications which actually front that entire the smart contracts are basically on the central services of AWSs, right, or the cloud providers.
Yeah.
So what we come here as, and I'm pitching ourselves is for an application to be really be decentralized, where you have the smart contracts on those smart chain protocols, but you need an infrastructure layer for all the applications. So that is what StackOS is essentially. It is basically a decentralized infrastructure protocol. That means you can run applications on these and interact with smart contracts. And when you just described the definition, right, from our main website, so it's not just for the blockchain companies, right? It's actually targeting any traditional applications in the world. Anyone which is currently using AWS or GCP can easily be deployed on StackOS. So I think that is what uniquely defines the protocol which we're talking about, the infrastructure protocol, which is where you can deploy apps on anyone traditional or blockchain, and just it's just a small beginning for us.
So how does that change the way that all works, essentially? So, we know sort of traditionally how that all works and how we build apps and how we sort of deploy those how does StackOS change that?
Yes. So, if you look at the DevSecOps, right, I have a background in DevSecOps for a long time of my career. And I have seen applications trying to be brought up into these cloud systems, right? And easily, for a good architecture to actually happen or work, it requires 2 weeks of development time, architectural time to be. And I'm talking about the best of the breed, right? Best engineers in the world coming together, create an architecturally well-architected framework on Amazon to be able to make it work, where you can scale applications horizontally, vertically, and also make them resistant to disasters, right? So what StackOS does, cuts down that 2 weeks of time frame to minutes, right? Basically, we have the entire architecture set up where you can click a button and application will start running within the StackOS cloud. So I think the one thing we do really uniquely here is cut down the DevOps time, which is incredibly expensive. Like for the ones who have been in the space, the cloud space would know, organizations mid and large, they spend about multi-million dollars just for hiring, managing these DevOps engineers and having to build these cloud resources in GCP or Amazon. So, that's where I think we uniquely fit in and we come into the market. What also we do is, in terms, I think you asked again, right? How do we come here? So that is one aspect of it. or getting to market very quickly, getting the developers to market very quickly.
Yeah.
But for any organization to really implement a disaster recovery solution, that is very, very hard. So what we allow people to do is that they can split or deploy their applications into multiple cloud providers and multiple regions of these cloud providers, and also expand that thing to the data centers, which are much cheaper to run on. Right, so basically, you can fail over from any cloud service to another, just to give you high availability, and also allow for this seamless deployments and running applications. So it's basically anyone who wants to run any website in the world can just come to our marketplace, click a button, and get their application running. I think that is the power of StackOS, which we differentiate heavily from any of these cloud providers.
Okay, so you are essentially cloud hosting when we think about that. So,
exactly.
So how does that sort of, so from your traditional hosting, so like, service providers like GoDaddy and those sort of companies, where we predominantly see sort of, slow sort of infrastructure in that, how does StackOS like differ from that? And what are you offering to clients that come into that sort of marketplace?
Great question. So I think interestingly, you brought up GoDaddy, which is much simpler than setting up on AWS and GCP, right?
Yeah, very simple.
Relatively much simple, yes. But it's all anonymous, right? It's a single point of failure. If something happens, that entire thing goes down. So we have had examples in the data centers in Europe, which just got fired. Every application on that had to, they asked basically to initiate the disaster recovery plans, right? This thing can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And again, when you start talking about these, services which make it simpler, like GoDaddy, the problem is that they have very set number of applications which can be run and deployed on it. And it does not provide a developer experience to really deploy applications. So like, for example, if someone wants to deploy an app on, let's say, on GoDaddy, he has to go to the console and then start clicking and creating FTP connections to be able to transfer files over to the cloud and then run it. That is not a true developer experience. When it could be one for someone who's a layman, it's okay. But for any well-developed organization, they need GitOps. They need people just writing the code on the laptop and then suddenly start shipping and running on the cloud. That is the experience you need, and everything else, and this thing really beats the market. The entire industry of software development goes around DevOps, goes around how to deliver faster code quickly and making sure it's going to be highly available and scalable, which none of these entities can provide. So
yeah. So there's services like obviously Microsoft Azure, and we see those sort of. Is that sort of your main competitor, would you say, like, or like completely different, or who is your main competitor that you're sort of like entering the marketplace and going, okay, we're going to sort of really sort of look at this and take you guys on?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I think there is this sentiment that we're going or we are trying to fight against Amazons, the Googles, and Azures, right? The Microsoft Azures of the world. And the answer to that question is no. We are not actually, competing with them. We are actually using their resources and making it extremely simple for developers to go run applications on. What we do actually, do this thing really well is that we are going to create a competition between these resource providers so that they can reduce the costs and be able to support a decentralized anonymous systems. Like, for example, you have, during the presidential elections this year, US presidential elections, there was, right or wrong, there was a lot of, organizations or these cloud providers had stopped services, of people which they didn't agree with, or the government didn't agree with. Which in my opinion, right, having unbiased view, that is censorship. It should be censorship resistant. So you cannot shut down voices of people because it's not convenient for you. Even though I may or may not agree with the propaganda of the Republicans, right?
Yeah.
But I think the philosophy behind it is that it should be censorship resistant. You can't just stop people's voices from doing what they feel or expressing themselves. So. So we aren't competing with them. We are trying to enable them to be able to enable developers to come deploy applications much quicker.
Yeah.
And yet using their resources, right?
Okay.
And then and be more efficient in ways which data centers, if they can offer a cheaper solution for which customers can or developers can actually be happy with, so be it, right? So I think that is the essence of what we are doing, is enabling or empowering or just saying, bringing the cloud services to the next level to be able to solve the problems of developers.
So essentially with that, what you brought up with the government stuff, we saw a lot of websites sort of take down, certain stuff because of, they were saying it was hate speech and, so they were then limiting what those people could say. So with StackOS, so you're saying that it's basically you can say what you want. There's no censorship on the platform there.
Right, any of the applications you run on it. So again, right, what you say or not say is not under our control. What is in our control is if somebody goes and strikes down an infrastructure of an application, that will go replicate onto a different infrastructure instantly.
Okay.
Right, so basically nobody can take it down. What happens within the application is not under our control, and it's just like smart contracts or having these intercontinental spaces where you can deploy, run websites or run stuff, and you can't control what is going to be there on that, right?
Yeah.
But so we are infrastructure provider, same thing, right? So we do not control any of these other things, but it's essentially focused towards how do you create infrastructure which is resilient, and if a third party entity comes and stops a resource which is serving the application is stopped, we have a new one coming and taking its place.
Okay, so how does that, so with, we see a lot of denial of service attacks on websites and that sort of stuff. And, you've got services such as Cloudflare sort of in the marketplace. How does StackOS sort of integrate with those, or you don't, or, you've got your own sort of system that sort of beats those sort of denial of service attacks?
Yeah, great question. So, the biggest issue here, right? I mean, you can create an awesome application which is able to serve great, amount of traffic. There are going to be bad actors in this world, right? Trying to bring down your services.
Always.
So,
there's always, yeah.
Exactly, right. And some people perceive this attacks or DDoS attacks as a hack. But DDoS attack is not really a hack. It's exploiting somebody vulnerability in the system where you cannot really, there's so much traffic from one single IP or one single user that it brings down the services for everybody else.
Yeah.
So what we are designed to do is basically, make use of something called the beacon node. So beacon node is basically a proxy for our services before it gets to our infrastructure mesh.
Yeah.
And beacon node is the brains behind where the application within the infrastructure mesh should that application is hosted and where should it be routed, right? The traffic be routed. And if it detects that there is a specific user who is trying to hammer the system beyond the control of the developers, it goes and stops and blocks them from them.
Okay,
right?
so that's an automatic thing that it's sort of it's smart enough to sort of understand that if there's one IP address that's sort of pinging, then they'll like shut that down.
Exactly. So it should detect it and then still able to stop it, right? And I think that is the part which most people don't know or are not aware of how to deal with it. So this is there to protect them, like go one. What also it does, the beacon node does is that is, as I said, is the brain behind it, right?
Yeah.
Supposing you destroy an infrastructure behind on the infrastructure mesh, it automatically moves to a different host within the StackOS ecosystem of the network. So the beacon node will understand or will know when the application has been moved over to a new infrastructure. So it acts as a routing mechanism for the traffic to go to the newer location of the application. So that is kind of power of the beacon node, and that's how we are using it in the ecosystem.
So with the beacon node, on that note, so if you're redirecting the traffic to another sort of server or another region, how does that go for speed? Like, how is StackOS like for the speed of the ecosystem? Say I've got a website, I've got a high traffic website, which I do, and we've had sort of issues with that, as you've seen. Over the last sort of month, we've been active. Yes. And so we've moved and we're on cloud services, and it's huge. But so if you were having that sort of denial of service attack, or you're having that one IP address that's sort of just pinging, and you've moved to the next server, how does StackOS address that, the speed issues on that?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, great question. So the thing is, this is not unusual, right? So, I mean, when you're picking up different, let's say the beacon node to actually route your traffic from, or using a brain, you can pick the location of which you want.
Okay.
Again, it's a decentralized system. You will not have a GUIP mapped to that specific server. But what you would know is that this is the most efficient route to take to get to your application infrastructure. So that way, when you're picking up, you will know that how much lag there is between the beacon node and the application, and you would always pick the one which is closest to your infrastructure in case that goes down, right?
So essentially, it's smart enough to understand where it should be sort of directing the traffic.
Correct. So developers will be able to pick the location or how close it is to the infrastructure nodes, and what is the distance between them and the beacon node, basically. So while deployment is happening, and then a developer can pick, how vast do they want the routing to be, or how far away do they need the geographic location of the server to be. So it's absolutely in control of the developers how they want to do it, right? And again, if there is slightly reduced speed at the expense of, or at least saying that if it goes down, it's, if the entire website goes down, they lose millions and millions of dollars every day, right? So at a small loss of speed is something which I think is usually most organizations are okay with. But they don't have to be that. They can always pick a beacon node that's closest to their server and hosting. So that'll be very, very quick anyway.
So what sort of people are you and companies are you trying to attract to StackOS? So, you going for the majorly big ones, or are you sort of, mid-level mums and dads, sort of, or everyone?
Right. No, yeah. So as I said, the way StackOS is positioned is to allow any traditional application, be it from a large organization to very, very small, people. It doesn't matter. From StackOS, we'll be able to serve pretty much every single application in the world. Now, how the go-to-market strategy is different from from really acquiring or getting all these applications deployed. It wouldn't make sense. It would be very stupid of me or foolish of me to say, hey, we can target everyone in the world. That's not possible. Let's be realistic, right?
Yeah.
But you can target, the go-to-market strategy would be that we first target all the blockchain companies along with some small mom and pop stores, right? So so I think the way I foresee this thing is that we first build a narrative around that how any blockchain company in the world to be really decentralized, they need to deploy on StackOS. And what we're trying to also talk about is being like the chain link for for decentralized cloud systems, right? So basically anyone who wants to say that, okay, we are great at the systems, or we are really decentralized, they should use us, period, right? And that's actually a public call out to anyone who wants to deploy or claims to be a decentralized system. Please use us. We'll be happy to help you on board, right? So that's the first go-to-market strategy of how we're getting in, and followed by we have NFTs coming in, which is going to basically allow smaller organizations trying to build and deploy applications on StackOS.
Okay.
So there's a good mix of how we use that and use that to expand the deployments on StackOS. Is again the utility side of things, right? So utilization side of things. So that is kind of how we're trying to approach this, and then and build credibility, right? Once you build credibility, you will have larger organizations come in and try to experiment with it. We already have some extremely strong community members who have connections with really large parties, and I think we are going to leverage their requests. They have been asking us if we can deploy them, and we've been like, hey, let's wait and watch, look for results, and then make a decision, right?
Yeah.
So I think we are trying to promote it that way, be more organic instead of just bigger bubbles, like you come in and then they go.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do that thing well, hopefully.
Amazing. So what sort of skills and abilities would you need to have to deploy on StackOS?
Zero.
Zero. So it's super easy,
it is supposed to
my
be.
website, I can put it onto StackOS, I can build an app and I can put it onto StackOS.
Exactly, right? So, and this is the biggest differentiator of ours, like, which even talking about centralized cloud services now, right? It's supposed to be so simple. Like, for example, in a test net we launched about a month and a half back, we had about 1,000 applications deployed on StackOS in less than few hours. I mean, in few hours, like
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours, around that number. And that was purely because of user experience, right? It was so easy. Just go to the marketplace. You will see your app there. Click a button, and the app comes up running successfully. And we had multiple of those things. Again, we didn't have insight into what kind of applications were deployed, but we could tell how many applications were deployed, and that was around the same number. So,
Yeah.
which was pretty exciting to see, and I think was a validation of what we have been doing in the past. We have been developing this product for 3 years now, right? It's not something we started building yesterday and launched a project.
Yeah, that's the thing that people don't understand. When you go to market, so you're at this point and you've deployed on with an IDO and you've got all these people interested in and looking at it. But this has been building. So you've really built the sort of the roots of the tree has really grown down. So, and it's just sort of poking out now, and we're just sort of seeing the start of this. And yeah,
Exactly.
so it's 3 years is a long time in technology to be building. So we know that you've got all that infrastructure and all that knowledge that's just sort of coming into the market now.
Correct. One of our advisors, Fabio Canison, he's a Brazilian. He's also he's been supporting us for almost 3 years. He's also a seed investor in StackOS, and he has been through the ups and downs and how we really ended up where we are now. And he was on the firm belief that, and he really advised and encouraged us to go build a product, prove it's going to work, and then raise capital. Because, and I think from his experience also, that he's seen this, that there will be moon boys coming in and telling when moon, right? And that doesn't actually help a project.
There's always that. Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is that doesn't help the project anyway, right? So and usually is at a detriment to the goals and how we want to really build. But we had the capital to begin with, enough to really get us bootstrapped until we could validate the working of our service. And only when he was comfortable and we were comfortable ourselves, raising funds and trying to hopefully please the moon boys, right? We said, what, it's probably a great time for us to enter the market, and not just enter the market, but also be able to show value as we go, right? Again, we have built this thing during the bear market. We are going to work the next bear market, right? It's not like a one year show, half a year show to be able to go raise money.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm trying to put across to a lot of people here. Like, a lot of these companies that I do these, interviews and sort of chats with have been through the bear market, have, been building and developing and doing all of that and, staying afloat. So that's super important because obviously we're in a bull market right now. And everything's sort of booming, but what happens when that ends? And where do these companies go? Do they just fold up? Do they just continue? And it's like, you guys have been doing this for 3 years, so you completely understand where this is all going.
Exactly. Again, we have our great advisors. We have Andre, who has recently joined us. There's a recently, it's not recent in the crypto world, it's long in the crypto world, right? But who has a lot of experience with bringing organizations from scratch and making them public, right? So he has that. Incidentally, he's from Sydney, and he was one of the chairmen for.
He must be cool if he's from Sydney.
He's definitely cool. You can look at him and say, yeah, he's cool. But on serious note, right? I think he brings a vast amount of knowledge. He was the chairman of a publicly listed organization, Australian on the Australian exchange. So we have his experience, his support in what we're doing and guiding us to the next level. So we've been extremely lucky with the right people behind us, supporting us. And be able to build around it. So again, they all have their names on our project, right? So it's going to hurt their identity. It's going to hurt my identity. I've been in this industry long enough to to just let it squander in like less than 1 year. It's not something which is of my interest or of anyone in the team. So again, the reason we got the money was to build a community, right? So trying to get to that. The reason we had to do an IDO was not for the money at all. I mean, we had the money from venture capital and do everything we had to, who have seen our product work and stuff. But it's to build a community which is going to talk about us and then help us in adoption. I think that is where the key differentiator is of blockchain, and we are trying to utilize that to be able to get, ensure that there is more utilization of our services as we go forward.
Yeah, that's essentially right, because you can have the best product in the world, and if nobody knows about you, nobody uses it. So, and you know, that's an exciting thing. So with the IDOs and with building a community in, you know, the cryptocurrency world and in blockchain, that, you know, people start talking about you, people start using you, and, you know, it becomes a viable product. So yeah, I'm super excited by your community and, you know, how excited they are about the project.
It's incredible. I'm extremely lucky, you know, to have the support of the community the way we have right now. And honesty, right? I think we got the big attention right after we had the Chainlink partnership. So you know, we are one of the very few organizations where Chainlink has our documentation on their website. Right? If you want to use a decentralized DNS service, it is our service which is actually on their Chainlink's documentation. It's interesting, like everyone says, hey, Chainlink partners with everybody, which is true, but they are users of the protocol, not the building of their protocol. But that's how StackOS is different from them. And again, right, I think it is a household name right now. And StackOS intends to, you know, write the same thing and become a household name for decentralized applications.
That's a bit exciting. So there was a major partnership just recently as well, so with Neo, so which was kind of exciting. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So so StackOS is an incubated project of Neo, and that means that they have invested in building up of the StackOS ecosystem, and they are involved in, you know, enabling the developers of the Neo community or to onboard on the StackOS platform. So we are the only supported decentralized cloud of Neo ecosystem. That gives us extensive outreach into the Chinese market, you know, and we were recently, you know, published in O Daily, one of the largest ones in China, for that same reason, because, you know, I think it enables, you know, developers to start using StackOS. They being, you know, benefiting from this ecosystem of, you know, how you can deploy nodes quickly and get them running. And believe me, right, Neo has been doing really good things, and you know, behind the scenes, and people are not talking much about it. Right? It's again the bubble effect, right? People talk about things which are like most shiny at the time. And Neo has just recently caught that attention again, right, after like few years. And
they've been developing their you know, their new mainnet and all of that, so that brings them to the limelight again. And you know, that's kind of what the, like we talk about the moon boys, we look for with that, we look for, you know, all the shiny things. So,
right. And they've been building working very hard, and we've been involved with the Neo community from the beginning. Like I talked about Fabio, right? He was founder of City of Zion, and you know, and that is the largest open source community for Neo, right? And we have been associated with City of Zion and Neo guys to be able to, you know, learn how they work and operate, and then actually see what we can offer. From the very beginning, we have been offering the Neo nodes on StackOS, so it was a very easy entry for us within that ecosystem, and you know, they loved us, we loved them. It was a perfect match, and yeah, at the first initiation of this, you know, relationship is definitely that, you know, we are there. Any application developed during the hackathon will be deploying their application on StackOS. So that is, you know, a big one for us, and I think it will be great to have those teams on board and really work on us.
Yeah, that's a massive thing, that, you know, all of that is getting deployed on StackOS, and that's, you know, when they you know, the Neo hackathon is a massive thing, so we're going to know what StackOS is by the end of that. So yeah, that's super exciting. So now, before we wrap this up, so is there any exciting news that you want to share, like on the development, on what's going on? You know, can we get something for the audience here?
All right, since you're asking that question so nicely, let me think. So, all right, so let me break that news. I wasn't planning to do it right now, but I'll do it anyway. So we are we are planning to launch a pre-staking program before the second unlock. Basically, we will be taking daily snapshots of people with the most number of tokens, and then using that to reward people who would be participating in the liquidity program, which will be followed after. So that is, I think, an amazing initiation from our side, and hopefully we'll see a lot of adoption there. It is the first sign of many utilities coming to StackOS. There has been a roadmap already,
So
but the
essentially
thing is,
that's frictionless staking.
it is. So
Yeah.
it is. It's on the wallet. So you have to hold the tokens of ours, and then when you do stake in the liquidity program, and you obviously you will have returns on those, and you will have extra benefits of staking the or holding the tokens before that thing actually hits even.
Okay.
So that is for all the community members who are actually have been trusting us for this time and wanting to work with us in the future. So yeah, there it goes. I think it's been very exciting for us, and I'm
That
sure
is super
it's going to be
exciting.
exciting for
So
people.
I think the
Yeah,
community is really going to get behind that. And yeah,
yeah,
so I know the community people that I speak to and I interact with are very excited about StackOS and about all the possibilities that it's got. So yeah, no, it's been amazing to have you here today and learn more about StackOS and what it does and, how it can change, the infrastructure of how operating systems work and how they interact. And yeah, no, it's a very cool product.
no, thank you very much, Lisa. Been an absolute pleasure talking with you and just going over what we are doing here. It is humbling to see the support of the community and your community in general. I think they're very, very active,
Yeah.
and you're one of the few women in this industry, and I really admire you here,
Oh, thank
in this
you.
space. And this is one thing I was talking with Andre, and I think he apparently also had us talk with you, and he was so excited to just share that, okay, you are here, you're going to we're going to meet today and talk and discuss these things. So thank you very much for having me here. Great job at what you're doing. It's incredibly humbling for me and the team that we're seeing the support from people like you and others, and just supporting us through this time. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And yeah, hopefully we can have you on in the future once we get some more exciting news, because I know there's going to be so much development happening. So
Yes.
would love to have you back when that happens.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this has been a thing, right? It seems to be like a thing. Uh, Most people I interview with, in the end, there is something which I usually break. So seems like I just continue this tradition again the next time we meet, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you so much for your time. So
Okay,
thank you
thank you.
guys for watching. And, if you do like StackOS, I'm going to put all the links in the video down below. And don't forget to smash the like button. And yeah, stop by Twitter, and I'll put all the StackOS, Medium, the Twitter, and their website all in the links below. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.